Christmas can be such a stressful time of year. If you don't have much money, if there are lots of expectations, if you're trying to impress people and you simply can't afford to. I'm quite lucky. I don't host anyone at home for Christmas, so I don't have to decorate, I don't have to put up a tree, I don't have to buy food. So my Christmases are quite slimmed down. I just do the gifts and then I have the travel expenses, which for me is driving, so at least I don't have expensive train tickets to buy. And as with everything, I keep a spreadsheet on it. So I can keep track of what I'm going to buy people. I know exactly what I'm going to get people. I predict how much I think it's going to cost, and then I try and find ways to get it cheaper. So I have, how many people do I have to buy for? My two parents, my best friend. I don't buy for her partner or her children. Her children are my godsons, but they get everything they want. You know, the youngest wanted a new gaming system earlier this year, which was £1,000, and he got it. There is nothing I can buy those two almost adult boys that they won't get from elsewhere. So anything I give them is just going to end up at the back of a cupboard. So I stopped buying them presents 3 or 4 years ago. They just didn't seem any point. And so that's one less thing to worry about. My best friend's birthday is 2 days before Christmas, so I need to allocate funds for that as well. And this year I've made her present, so it's come at a time expense but not a physical monetary expense. And she often makes presents for me because she's very crafty as well, so most of what she makes, she gives me, is usually handmade anyway. And I've bought her a few little token bits for Christmas because, you know, her partner will spend an absolute fortune on her as well. So I have two parents to buy for, my best friend, my brother and his wife, their 3 children who are all under 10, and I think that's about it actually. It's difficult when you have family who don't want anything. So every year I ask, is there anything anybody wants? And nobody ever wants anything in particular. So that I have no guidance on it. So I kind of have to make it up as I go along, and I tend to buy the same sorts of things every year because they're sure bets. I always want to get practical presents. I want to get things that I know people will use or eat or drink or whatever. So, you know, every year I tend to get a scarf. I now have about 20 scarves that I almost never wear. So, you know, don't buy things that are that generic, because once I have a scarf, I will keep using it until it falls apart, which is why I have so many of them. And I can't bear to get rid of them because I don't like throwing things away. And once something's been gifted, it has a different connotation to it. So it's really hard to get rid of stuff. I've been better this year. I had a big clear out earlier in the year of gifts that I've never used, things that I didn't need, didn't want, because people feel they have to buy you stuff. And I sold it on Vinted because what else am I going to do with it? So I turned it back into cash. So my Christmas budget last year was £125. And I kept to that budget this year. I wanted to do the same, £125. So I have bought for everybody. Here's a little picture of most of the stuff that I bought. There were a couple of small things that I bought afterwards. But that's generally everything that everybody's got right there. So once I had looked at the prices of everything, if I had bought everything, what my predicted prices were £141.35. And the actual shop prices, if I had bought everything on the retail price off the shelf, would have cost me £167.45. I bought a lot of presents this year using Nectar points that I have saved up over the year. At the point where I started buying for Christmas, I had saved about £90 in Nectar points. And a lot of the things that I would buy, I could get in Sainsbury's. So bottles of wine, Prosecco, bathroom products, gift sets, things like that. So there were also Nectar prices. So if I was shopping with my Nectar card, they're cheaper than the price that's on the shelf. I saved £20.85 by buying things that had a Nectar price against them. So there were discounts there. I also saved another £58.50 by shopping with Nectar points. So basically I bought a lot of stuff for free because it was Nectar points that I had earned through the 2 survey sites I use, which are here. And it's like banking up your Christmas funds. So I didn't have the money. I earned it through surveys. So theoretically, I got £58.50 worth of gifts for free. I also used cashback sites. Cashback sites are terrible now. They used to be really good, but over the last couple of years, the discounts have got worse and worse. And I would only be buying things because they had a discount. There were never things that I would buy anymore. So I use Shopmium, Checkout Smart, and Green Genie, and they're not very good. I managed to get a couple of discounts on wine with Shopmium, so I managed to save £4. I got £4 back on buying a couple of bottles of wine. So my actual physical spend of actual real money that came out of my bank this year was £88.10, which is pretty good. And that's because I bought a few things on eBay. So I bought some craft kits for my brother's kids, for his daughters. They've both got craft kits because they're all quite arty and they love that sort of stuff. My brother's son, who is really into clothes, I bought him brand new with tags on Vinted, brand new stuff, still with the labels on, and it saved me an absolute blooming fortune. What else did I buy? I bought my dad something on Etsy. My dad never needs or wants anything, so I have to make it up as I go along, which means he ends up with clutter that he doesn't want. So I've bought him a small, it's a sun catcher, but it's got pylons on it because he was an electrical engineer. And this year, I was really focused on things with pylons on for some reason. I was going to get him a calendar. They do a yearly calendar of all the different pylons, the electrical pylons you can see in the country. He'd have appreciated that. But my mum's already bought him a calendar, so I can't get that this year. That would have been the gift. And trying to find other stuff with pylons on is actually really difficult. I wanted to get him a notepaper block with it printed on the side, but that's too specific. I couldn't get it. So he's ended up with this this sun catcher which can sit on the windowsill and the light will come through it. It's really nice. It was handmade by somebody who sells on Etsy, and she is based in Northumberland, and I'll put her details there because it was really nice. I really liked it. So I'm hoping he'll like it. And that's pretty much it. So that is my Christmas spend, £88 and what was it, 10 pence, I think? £88 and 10 pence for all the Christmas presents and the cards, mostly because I shopped through Nectar points. And that has really saved me this year. Of course, I have now really blitzed my Nectar points. I went from £90 down to about £24 left. And I keep my Nectar points there for things like this, or for when there aren't any yellow stickers in the shop and I need greens or potatoes or something, and I can then get them on the points. But now that's been spent and I'm earning again, so that money is just starting to go up again. I'm back up to about £32, I think. So that will recover. And because I still have like £30 in there now, that means I have more than enough emergency money for buying supermarket things that I don't really want to spend full price on. So that is my Christmas spend. Have to keep it on track, and I keep it on spreadsheets because otherwise it runs away with you. You buy everything on your list and then you look at it and you go, that doesn't look like enough stuff for somebody, and then you go and buy something else, and then you go and buy something else. My best friend does it, my brother does it. They look at it as a quantity thing. So you'll end up with a lot of stuff that you don't want and you don't need. Usually little tat things, like little token things that are of absolutely no use because somebody went into the pound shop and went, I'll have that, and that, and just grabbed stuff off the shelf. And you can tell when it's been done with the idea of quantity, not quality. I would rather give 2 or 3 things that have a thought process behind them and will be used than a bunch of tat that will end up in the cupboard. And I'm really low maintenance. There's just nothing that I want or need. So I tend to get food, I get alcohol, I get bathroom products. And that is, and the other thing that my mum always buys me every year is those scented softener beads that go into the washing machine. I can't afford those. My mum is an absolute kind of, I don't know what the word is. She puts them in everything. She goes through tons of the stuff. She's absolutely fanatical about I think it's the Lenore one she normally gets. So I tend to get about 6 tubes of them for Christmas, and they last me all year. And that's kind of like the main thing. So alcohol, food, and laundry products. And if they ask me if there's something I particularly want, sometimes there will be a perfume that I'm short of. My mum is a liberal user of very expensive perfume, and every so often I will ask for one because they'll say, is there one that you're low of? And I have 3 now. I used to have one, which was the Angel Mugler one, and then I expanded out to Paris again, which was one I used to have when I was younger, so it's like a good memory. And then there's one that my mum wears, which reminds me of a perfume she used to wear when we were kids, and it was called Tweed. Who remembers Tweed? And I can't remember what this one's called. Hang on. So it's Paloma Picasso. It's this one. I've had this since March. I'm a very sparing user of perfume, but this smells absolutely incredible. It reminds me of growing up. I remember my mum and dad, whenever they went out and we had babysitters round, and I could smell the perfume because my mum put it on just before they went out. And it's a real memory of my childhood. So I love this one. My mum wears this a lot. My mum's got dozens of perfumes, absolutely crazy for it. So I'm really big on smells. They're really triggering for nostalgia and things like that. So I have those. So I've got those 3, and I don't use them every day. I'm quite sparing with them because they're expensive. So once a year, I'll ask for maybe a bottle of perfume, particularly if they're struggling for ideas. But I'm relatively easy to buy for because everything to me is a luxury. So if you buy me some food or a bottle of wine, or my dad will nearly every time will buy me a different kind of bottle of gin because I like a gin, and those are luxuries to me, absolute luxuries I cannot afford. So anything you buy me that is useful in my day-to-day life or is a treat, fantastic, brilliant. But I can't buy any of that for my family because if they want something, they just buy it. They have a lot more money than I do, so it's the pressure's on. So whenever I'm buying for my parents particularly, I will try and buy things that they cannot find because my parents are not very savvy on the internet. They don't know how to search for unusual companies or maybe different companies. They're really into high-end chocolate, so they spend a fortune at Hotel Chocolat. But I have discovered a local-ish in the area chocolate shop that was recommended to me on another YouTube channel, Holly the Cafe Boat, and I'll put the details of that shop there. They're called Sam Joseph, and they do lovely handmade chocolate. Very expensive, so I just buy little treat-sized versions of whatever I can afford, so they get that. I don't think they're particularly excited about it. They don't see it as a treat because they buy, they'll not think anything of spending 70 quid on a Hotel Chocolat tray, mixed tray. So it's kind of lost on them, but it's that or they don't get anything. It's really hard to buy for them. So that's it. That's my struggle over with again this year. I was really worried because it got to middle of November and I hadn't bought anything yet and I didn't know what to get anyone, and I was starting to get really worried about what am I going to do this year. And then once I started to get stuck into it and I made the spreadsheet and I started to look at how I was going to buy things, the stress went because I found myself in control of that situation. I knew what I was going to do, and now it's done, so I'm happy. There's no more buying. I'm not going to look at everything once it's all wrapped and go, oh, well, that's not enough, because that's how they get you. I hate what Christmas has become. It's just a money fest. It's a way for businesses to make an extra quid and for people to get into debt. There will be people who are now buying for Christmas this year who are still paying off last year's Christmas debt. And that's absolutely appalling. And it's for one day. Christmas Day was Christmas Day at one point. And it wasn't this big show. It was a gathering of people. They would gather for Christmas Day meal. They would gather with friends and family, and that was it. And then Christmas was done, and it was over. The Christmas decorations went up on Christmas Eve, and they came down again on Boxing Day. That's what my mother remembers growing up. You didn't need to go for weeks and weeks and weeks of just this crazy financial overload that just puts people in so much financial trouble. So if you're worried that people are going to think of you as being, oh, you're too tight at Christmas, have conversations with the people around you and explain that, do these people want you to be in debt for a year for a gift that they didn't need? Think of it like that. Or find other ways to budget like I did. Use the survey sites to earn the money or the points or whatever that you want to keep Christmas costs down. And it's taken all the stress out of it for me again this year. And that's it. That's my Christmas spending. It's quite enough. That's the lot. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.